Nick, how about at Pure Storage? I know you, once again, you're in the catbird seat there, where you're looking across all of these agencies, across the private sector, and seeing a lot of these various activities. Give us an example of where big data is really coming into play, doing big things at whether it's a private sector or a public sector entity.
It is incredibly encouraging to hear the success stories from the government leaders on this panel. It is obviously striking that you have the big data processing with Cloudera, data orchestration and integration with BMC, and of course, primary data service or data service infrastructure with Pure. All of these things are designed to support the fundamental 4 V's of data, volume, velocity, variety, and veracity, to help decision makers make smart, timely, relevant, accurate, and predictive decisions. So all that was to say that how fast you can know is driven by how fast you can move. And your entire data stack is architected to provide that kind of agility and adaptability. A year ago, we weren't thinking about doing contact tracing and epidemiology and viral genomic sequencing and things of that nature. We had data distributed across a wide variety of agencies, whether it was the Department of Defense or Health and Human Services. We have seen an incredible rise in cybercrime and cyber threat activity as well, because everybody's working outside of their network boundaries and having to remotely come in, which creates, it inverts all of the threat vectors that we've designed our networks to function in government. So what we've tried to support and what we've seen tremendous increases in happening are things like cyber network simulation and environment simulation, as well as supporting things like folding at home or activities in health and human services that are driven around very large scale gene sequencing. We work with a lot of companies who have large data analytics platforms, but what we're finding, as Henry said, is their ability to get through larger and larger quantities of data is driven in very large degree by being able to pull data through fire hoses rather than soda straws. So our fundamental premise at Pure Storage was designing systems that would support higher volume, higher velocity data service and data access to shorten the time to knowledge and awareness, and to shorten the decision-making cycle. So data service has to keep up and has to facilitate the kind of agility that is required to provide this orchestration without trying to refactor or rebuild everything to support a new data use case. It just has to be assumed that the data can be provided, delivered, manipulated, reserved, recycled, and then of course backed up and recovered without having to do anything really major, or even just trivial support for those kinds of data usages. The infrastructure is designed to support people. People are not designed to support infrastructure. So we're seeing that demand being placed on software and hardware providers, whether they're cloud-based or on premises. Customers don't want to have to manage their infrastructure anymore. They don't want to have to work hard to get work done. And that's been a fundamental premise of ours, and for literally since our founding. So we're seeing that the service-based economy and the service-based demand of customers is requiring industry to answer that, because people want to get to work on working on that data and finding out what they need to know in order to make those decisions, as opposed to having to work a very long time just to get the infrastructure necessary to make it happen.